Hey guys, I'm Sabrina, the lead researcher here at Ripley's Believe It or Not, and I'm back in our warehouse with another unbelievable unboxing. Today, we have some of the oldest artifacts in our collection. But before we get started, I would give us a like, subscribe, and a comment because you never know if these items are cursed. Let's get unboxing. So I've been waiting for this package for what seems like forever. Typically, I don't know what's in the box, and this time I do, and I am not gonna beat around the bush. This right here is filled with authentic Egyptian mummies. What I don't know is the condition that they're in, so I'm really eager to find out what is. I do have these handy dandy archival gloves to keep them in better shape, and I'm ready just to jump in. Let's go. So the Ripley's mummy collection is actually really extensive already. We have snakes, monkeys, cats, birds, anything, you name it. And I can't wait to add to that with, this one is marked as an ibis, so it looks like we might have another bird in there. Not sure, that'll be a surprise. A mummy hand. Another hand, I guess you need two. And a cat. So I'm gonna be a little honest, I'm a little bit nervous. Some of the most recent mummies that have been found have been unwrapped and studied and still have skin and hair on them. So who knows what we're getting ourselves into here. So since I'm dressed appropriately, I'm definitely gonna start with this cat first. And according to this show card right here, it says that this mummified cat lived in Egypt over 2,000 years ago. So because of that, I'm gonna be extremely careful opening this. Oh my God. There's a cat in here, you guys. So this is the cat. You can see the wrappings, they're a little bit loose. It's incredibly fragile. And this exact cat actually lived in the royal temple at Bubastis, which was a city devoted to Bast, the cat goddess of music and pleasure and dancing. Cats were totally revered and worshipped in Egypt. Anyone caught killing a cat, even if it was an accident, would be put to death. So instead of leaving this cat out like I usually would, I'm going to wrap it up so nothing happens to it and move on to our next artifact, which are gonna be some human hands. And they date back 2,500 years old. Let's check them out. I'm gonna be honest, I never get, squirmish with anything. You saw that taxidermy video. It was all about that. This is getting pretty real. All right, wow. Okay, so this is so well preserved and probably a female because it's so small. Evidence of a missing ring right here on the ring finger would lead us to believe that this was of a noble. Oh, wow. Ooh. All right, and the other one we have is right here. And it is definitely a lot larger, so this is probably a male. Wow. And you can still see the wrappings on this one, so it looks a little bit different. Perhaps maybe a different method of preservation, maybe a little bit older. It's really hard to tell, but the cloth on here, you can see, is still on some parts. And there's a fingernail right here on that middle finger. Yep. So moving on to some more animals, we have a couple of birds, I think, a falcon and an ibis. And the reason these animals were typically mummified is because they represented different gods in Egyptian culture. They were also sometimes buried with their owners if they were a pet, or buried in the tombs because they were thought to be some food for the afterlife or an offering to the gods in the afterlife. Actually, recently in Egypt, archeologists found 30 different catacombs filled floor to ceiling with different animal mummies. Each different catacomb was dedicated to a different animal. And those mummies are numbering in the millions, which blows my mind. And this is super cool. Wow. This looks like the ibis. Ibises were so sacred that not only were they typically mummified, they even had really elaborate funerals because they were associated with the Egyptian god Thoth. And hundreds of mummified ibises have been found in cities like Hermopolis and Memphis, Egypt, which are cities that were very dedicated to that god. It smells just just a little bit. And we have this falcon over here as well. This little guy looks super cool. There's some thatching on here, and kind of unlike the other ones that we've seen, you can really see the face, and it's preserved incredibly well. And we actually know that it is real, and there is a falcon in here because we had it x-rayed by Quinnipiac University, and the footage is absolutely remarkable. Falcons were typically buried with their masters because they represented Horus, the god of sky, war, and hunting. And you might recognize the Eye of Horus because it is the ancient sign of protection in Egypt. The embalming technique of mummification began in 2600 BC and prepared bodies for life after death. The entire process took 70 days to complete and began with the brain being pulled out via the nostrils. Then the body would be filled with a natural salt to dry out the organs and also some aromatic spices to make it smell a little bit better, and wrapped in a cloth that was washed in some herbs, also for the nice smell. The body would then be placed in a mummy case, which was really elaborately decorated with hieroglyphic texts from the Book of the Dead and different mortuary gods. Next, the liver, lungs, intestines, and stomach were removed and placed in canopic jars. The heart was actually left in place because it was seen as the center of intelligence and feeling and would definitely be needed in the afterlife. The body was then packed really tightly with natron, which is a natural salt that helped dry out the corpse. Once it was dried out, which took about 40 days, the body was washed and lathered with oils, which helped keep the skin really soft and elastic. It was then wrapped with some linen and placed gently in the sarcophagus. Shortly after the discovery of King Tut's tomb in 1923, the people that actually discovered that tomb began to mysteriously die off. This captivated the whole Western world, and people began to get the grips of King Tut fever. So American sideshows and dime museums actually began replicating mummies because a real mummy cost a pretty penny. A replica, only $40, and we actually have one in the warehouse, so I'm gonna go grab it real quick. So here we go. This replica was created in 1923, the same year King Tut's discovery was, and it was made in Boston. It's actually made with animal bones and animal teeth. These ribs that you see here that are exposed are cow bones. And to give you an idea of what a real mummy skull might look like next to this replica, I've got one right here. All right. We'll do a little side by side. You can definitely tell the difference in the teeth. These are, pretty jagged, don't really look like the full mouth. And this is clearly a human being. And you can kind of see on the back where the cloth was, and on the front right here, and right here near the cheekbone. Ooh, there's actually a bottom jaw in here too. So here we go. The real deal. So thanks for unwrapping all that Egyptian history with me, and I'm really looking forward to reading your comments on it. But on to last week's video, let's take a look at those comments. It was that bike chain Yorkie, super cute, and we actually heard from Nikki, who owns a Yorkie, and she says its feet stink and really kind of wants to know why. She washes them a few times a day, it's insane. Well, Nikki, I want you to go home and smell your Yorkie's feet. Let me know if they smell like tortillas, corn chips, Fritos, and leave me a comment. I'm gonna let you know why. So we also heard from Sonia, who has a Shar-Pei that sweats from her belly sometimes, as well as Jody, who has a puppy that sweats from its armpits. And they're wondering why, since we told you guys that dogs sweat from their paws. Dogs also have sweat glands in a couple other places, mostly in their paws, but also regulate heat from panting and dilating their blood vessels. So maybe if it's their armpit or their belly that you're noticing, it's those blood vessels that have been dilated and they're feeling super flush and warm. And the cron, Tourette's much. First of all, use spell check before you're gonna throw me a diss. And thank you, Kylie, for that awesome save with ferrets. I want to ask you if you've ever heard of ferret legging, because it's one of my favorite sports, and it actually started in Yorkshire, England. So we got that Yorkshire, Yorkie tie-in right there. These men, normally coal miners or like lower class workers, would put ferrets, live ferrets, like those rodents, down their pants, belt them, and see who can last the longest. I think the record is over 5 hours. Yeah. And as always, no video would be complete without my girl Paula Dean, who said she's going barking mad over these art pieces. Thanks, guys, and I look forward to your comments this week. I'll talk to you real soon. I'm not going to talk to you. I'll see you on YouTube real soon. I'm not going to see you either. You guys know what I mean, and I'll see you next week.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time. We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.